start, particularly if you're stuck underneath that cloud and rain. Quite a damp start too across much of northern Scotland. Some outbreaks of heavy blustery rain, some showery rain as well. A little drier further south and further east, but there will still be a few showers around, and a similar picture too across parts of Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, with a few showers to start the day. Once any mist and fog has cleared, it will be parts of Wales and southwest England that see the brightest start on Sunday morning. But across the southeast, that weather front does continue to linger for a time, bringing some cloudier skies, some outbreaks of patchy rain as we go towards Sunday afternoon. The weather front in the north clears its way northwards, perhaps still affecting parts of Shetland and Orkney through Sunday afternoon, but for many it'll be a day of sunny spells and 1 or 2 isolated showers in the north, and pleasantly warm in that prolonged sunshine across the south with highs of 19 or 20 degrees. That weather front eventually clears its way across the southeast into the start of Monday, and it'll be a dry, bright, but perhaps rather chilly start on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we see could be a little slow to clear. Further north, that sunshine quickly turning hazy as we see a weather front arriving across the northwest, and that sets us up through much of next week with a northwest-southeast split developing, staying dry in the southeast, but temperatures are a little on the rise by the time we get to Wednesday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 11 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition, breaking tonight.
Renewal is the way forward, not the toxic divide and decline that we get with reform.
On the front page of the Sunday Times, the Prime Minister insists Labour can pull it around despite lagging behind Nigel Farage in a massive mega poll. Lagging isn't even the right word for it. It's a decimation of the Labour Party. Meanwhile, he's dubbed the Reform UK leader unpatriotic and grubby. The gloves are well and truly off, aren't they? Also,
I've been hearing about you in the news that you like taxes.
Yes, well, that was a bit of a laugh, wasn't it? MPs beg the Chancellor to unleash spending as she faces an internal revolt again. And
I would love reconciliation with my family.
well, Prince Harry says men in grey suits are getting in the way of his reunion with the King. Prince Harry has hit out at those shadowy palace courtiers on the front page of tomorrow's Mail. Also,
I don't get nervous, but I'm starting to get a bit shaky, you know what I mean? I'm a little bit worried.
yeah, The Apprentice and now Strictly Come Dancing star Tom Skinner has been forced to hire a close protection bodyguard after being targeted by online trolls. Is he being targeted for his friendship with the US Vice President J.D. Vance? And Ben Leo is in Washington, D.C. as The Late Show Live is imminent at midnight. Ben, what have you got in store for us?
Oh no, Alex, not Tom Skinner. Leave him alone, protect him at all costs. Look, breaking in the last couple of hours, Keir Starmer, it could be his last Labour conference tomorrow. There's a big tax scandal brewing. The full detail we're anticipating will come out in The Late Show Live in the Sunday Times. Do not miss it. It could be Keir Starmer's last Labour conference.
Bombshell stuff, isn't it? You've got to tune into The Late Show Live this evening, trust me. Joining me, though, is former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley, political commentator Benjamin Butterworth, and comedian Nicholas DeSanto. What's happening here, eh?
Don't do it, Papa. I never hear you. Papa.
It's okay.
A huge hour of news coming up, and trust me, your Saturday evening is just getting started. But let's get to your latest headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Alex. Very good evening to you. Our top stories. The Prime Minister has intensified his criticism of Reform UK, describing the party as an enemy of the country. Sir Keir Starmer says Reform's toxic divide and decline will tear the country apart ahead of Labour's annual conference tomorrow. Well, Nigel Farage has responded, saying Sir Keir's language smacks, frankly, of total desperation. Addressing students in Liverpool, the Prime Minister was asked about Reform's plans to remove indefinite leave to remain for legal migrants. Prince Harry has suggested people are seeking to sabotage his reconciliation with King Charles. Reports claim his meeting with the King earlier this month, their first in almost 2 years, was distinctly formal, claiming Harry joked he felt more like an official visitor than a member of the royal family. Prince Harry's spokesperson says the claims were pure invention by sources intent on sabotaging any reconciliation between father and son. President Trump has ordered the deployment of US troops to Portland, Oregon. He's described the city as war-ravaged following a small protest outside a federal immigration enforcement office. The US president claims it will help protect US ICE facilities from domestic terrorists, adding he's authorised the use of full force if necessary. Oregon's Governor Tina Kotek says there's no national security threat in Portland, adding that their communities are safe and calm. At least 36 people have been killed by a stampede at a political rally in India. It happened during an election campaign event held by the actor-turned-politician Vijay in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. He was seen throwing bottles of water to fainting supporters and calling for police help when the crowd became uncontrollable. Authorities say 8 children and 16 women were among the 36 who died, with more than 50 people injured. And Rory McIlroy's been defying the taunts to maintain Europe's bid to defend the Ryder Cup in front of a hostile US crowd.
Shut the up.
The world number 2 was heckled throughout the second day by home supporters, including just as he was about to hit that approach to the 16th green. He and Tommy Fleetwood went on to win their match as Europe took the morning foursomes 3-1 to open up a 4-point lead. Very good partnership, that one. And McIlroy again singled out in the afternoon alongside Shane Lowry amid an increased police presence. The atmosphere at Bethpage Black threatening to bubble over, but those two won again, and Europe are currently in control 10.5 to 3.5, with 2 matches still out on the course ahead of Sunday's singles. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more tomorrow.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Should we do a recap of your front pages, shall we? Well, let's start off with The Independent. Blow for Reeves as the UK's economic forecasts slashed. Estimates for productivity are down. Oh, dearie me. The Sunday Express. NATO must be solid or war is inevitable. A lot of sabre rattling happening at the Express, isn't there? The Mirror. Starmer says, don't fall for grubby Farage. He claims that the Reform chief is out to make himself rich, not to solve the UK's problems. The Mail. Prince Harry says men in grey suits are sabotaging his reunion with his father. And while I can find it, The Telegraph. Ministers beg Reeves to unleash spending. The Observer is leading with a beautiful front page spread here of the Red Roses as they thrash Canada 33 to 13. The Sun. Death threats, Skinner gets Spider-Man bodyguard. And the Sunday Times, leading with a slightly interesting headline. I think we can pull this around, says Keir Starmer. We'll see. We'll see, won't we? Because I think, given the news, that there's some other breaking stories that might be landing in the next 24 hours, we hear that might not be so achievable. Anyway, I'm now joined live from Washington, D.C. with superstar GB News presenter Ben Leo. Ben, thanks for joining me. Tell me what's happening on your show tonight, mate.
Alex, as you will be well aware, there is a potential political nuclear bomb brewing on Keir Starmer and Downing Street, because the Sunday Times, although the front page, which has just been released, you've run through it there, it's not on the front page of the Sunday Times, but one of the paper's top journalists, the Sunday Times Whitehall editor, Gabriel Pogrund, has tweeted earlier tonight a series of questions. And take a listen to this. He says, did Keir Starmer give land to his parents via a trust, guaranteeing their estate, of which he was a beneficiary, so that he would never pay inheritance tax on its eventual value? Legal experts say yes, and curiously, number 10 will not answer, despite having a list of straightforward questions for weeks, and Starmer retaining a leading tax casey following our original approach. Alex, viewers, listeners, could this be the start of Keir Starmer's downfall? Could this be the cherry on the cake which finally sees the Prime Minister fall on his sword? It was only weeks ago, wasn't it, that Angela Rayner resigned in disgrace over her capital gains tax situation because of her myriad of homes, the 3 homes that she enjoys. The detail isn't on the front page of the Sunday Times. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think because they're holding it for their second edition. And if viewers aren't aware how newspapers work, normally Fleet Street will send out the first edition of a newspaper, pump them out to the shops, and then a few hours later they'll pump out a second edition, potentially with news stories on the front, just in case anything big breaks. And I think this story, Alex and viewers, will be on the front page of the second edition, which, conveniently for me, falls during my show, The Late Show Live, between midnight and 2 a.m. your time. So I think, Alex, in my show tonight, we may see the start of Keir Starmer's downfall, with potentially some bombshell revelations in the Sunday Times about Keir Starmer allegedly avoiding tax. Elsewhere, Donald Trump has sent in the troops to the radical left lunatic city of Portland in Oregon because ICE, the immigration authorities, are being attacked by the radical left lunatics at Antifa. Of course, we have our own Antifa mob in the UK. They've not been designated terrorists yet, like they have in the United States, but it begs the question, do we need to have a look at the likes of Antifa and the far left in the UK? I had my own run-in with them just a few weeks ago at the Bell Hotel in Epping, and also the Barbican in Epping as well. Not sure on your thoughts on that, Alex. Should we designate Antifa terrorists in the UK?
100%, Ben, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm really looking forward to your show tonight. I'm going to be staying up to see if this story breaks, because I think, Ben, this could be, as you said, the final nail in Keir Starmer's coffin. Because if it is a tax expose, and they're claiming that this will come out in tomorrow's paper, as you've also been claiming, Ben, this could blow the lid on Keir Starmer's premiership. Honestly, I don't think there's a better night to stay up and see what happens to Keir Starmer, because, let's face it, Labour cannot handle another scandal, and this Prime Minister can certainly not handle another scandal, can he, Ben?
He can't. I mean, how many... Well, I don't know. He's kind of... reminds me of sort of Keith Vaz. Remember Teflon Keith, who liked Romanians and washing machines? I mean, I'm not saying Keir Starmer's delving into that kind of sordid behaviour, but he does seem to be avoiding scandal after scandal, where you'd think maybe 20 years ago they would have resigned after just one of them. But this one tonight, if the information does indeed drop in the Late Show Live, which I think it will come around 1 a.m. if you guys can stay up at home, get your coffees, get your Red Bulls or whatever else, I think it will be the start of his downfall, the beginning of the end of his premiership, and it could be his last ever Labour conference tomorrow as Labour leader. And it's nicely timed, isn't it? If the story is true and we get all the juicy details tonight, it's timed nicely for the start of the Labour conference. What a weekend it will be.
Listen, you're going to hear it here first on GB News. Ben Leo, I hope everyone can tune in to watch Ben tonight. Not that long now, literally, half an hour or so. Ben will be on your screens. Please stay with Ben Leo. Ben, we'll have you back very, very soon. Thank you very much for joining me. We're going to go through these front pages now with the panel here tonight. Peter Blexley, of course, joined by Benjamin Butterworth and comedian Nicholas DeSanto. Gentlemen, well, I would like to start... I mean, more Starmer. I think we should start with more Starmer, because there's nothing we love more than Keir Starmer, is there, Peter? Nothing Peter loves more than talking about Keir Starmer. Look, he said in an exclusive interview here, right, what he's saying is, on the front page of the Mirror, Starmer, don't fall for grubby Farage. Keir Starmer today, and I mean this is tomorrow morning, warns voters to steer clear of grubby and divisive Nigel Farage. There's nothing like unity than calling someone grubby, is there? The front page of the Mirror here, the Prime Minister says Reform leader cares more about lining his own pockets than helping to fix the UK. He's unpatriotic as you can get, Peter.
Picture the scene. It's 3 a.m. in the flat above Downing Street. The Prime Minister is fast asleep. Nigel! I'm sure he wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat shouting Nigel Farage's name. OK? He cannot stop talking about Nigel Farage, can he? It's hysterical.
No, it really is hysterical, isn't it? He's calling Nigel Farage unpatriotic. I mean, I think Nigel Farage is probably one of the more patriotic politicians in our country, if not the most. Nicholas, what do we make of that?
It's a bit difficult to follow up Peter's dramatic interpretation of events, but I'll try my best, because we need to do a strong show for people to seamlessly tune into Ben Leo's hour. But this is, as you said, very ironic. Shortly before the Brexit referendum, David Cameron at that time called Nigel Farage unpatriotic. And Nigel was like, if anything, patriotic and patriotism means to believe that your country can pull it off on its own and be strong and independent. But this government so far has been a bit of a Teflon government, right? They've had scandal after, right into the number 10. They basically disappointed. They failed on promise after promise. The very start was probably with the subsidies for fuels for the elderly. Then we had their housing minister recently kicking out people, and then we had the Rachel Reeves story, migration. You know, we are sending 1 to France, taking 3 in return. So it remains to be seen. But I mean, if this leads to a downfall of Keir Starmer, then we can see if they can pull it off until the end of the legislature with the strong majority they have, or there will be a snap election.
Benjamin, because he's obviously, everyone's attacking Nigel Farage, aren't they? You had Ed Davey, wasn't on a trampoline for a change, which was quite nice to see him with some gravity. He was out criticising Nigel Farage 30 times, he mentioned in his conference speech. Keir Starmer's going to deliver a conference speech How many times do you think he's going to mention Nigel Farage?
I reckon quite a few times. I mean, Ed Davey mentioned Donald Trump and he mentioned Nigel Farage constantly in his speech, but not a single mention of Keir Starmer, which is quite extraordinary. And it suggests that if there's a coalition after the next election, that'll be the way to stop Farage, and it looks like the basis of that is coming around. But I think what Downing Street is doing at the moment is they're desperately looking at all the different lines they can take to try and reduce Nigel Farage's support. What is it that undermines him? What is it that strikes a chord? Now, you can see the logic, and I don't mean to be personal, but you can see the logic behind Grubby, because he's sort of a drinker and a smoker, and he sometimes looks a bit dishevelled.
Yes,
right?
Yes, guilty as charged.
So,
I drink and I smoke. I'm not grubby, have a smell.
You look pristine. But I'm not saying I think this, of course, to a colleague, but they'll be working out if that works, if that strikes a chord. I think this actually reminds me, I don't think it will work, it reminds me of Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election when she called Trump supporters a basket of deplorables. And it really, ironically, it hit a chord because it made it feel like she was judging them. I think Grubby sounds a bit like that.
I think Churchill is a smoker and a drinker.
Yes, of course you are. I mean, this is the thing, and this is what Prime Minister Keir Starmer just cannot grasp, is that Nigel Farage does things that working class people that should be represented by
Nigel
Keir
Farage
Starmer
isn't working class.
No, hang on, hear me
Keir
out.
Starmer is working class.
Hear me. Well, not more. He's not. He's an extremely wealthy man.
Good, that's the idea.
But the point is that Keir Starmer goes to pubs. He doesn't get kicked out of pubs like the Prime Minister often has had to before. He can talk to people. He has a cigarette. He has a pint. He doesn't shy away from those things. The Prime Minister, if you saw him in a pub, you wouldn't know what to say to him. It's all a bit robotic, you know. And Nigel Farage is a much more approachable. You must have met Nigel Farage in your time working at GB News. And who's more approachable to you, Keir Starmer or Nigel Farage? Be honest.
Do you know, well, Keir Starmer. But,
get off. Have a day off.
You know, whenever the newspapers, often The Guardian, do negative stories about GB News, the picture is launch night, and Nigel Farage is stood behind me, and I'm sat there looking really grumpy and ignoring him. So I don't know if he'd be so nice to me. But look, you know, I think, here's the thing, Keir Starmer is working class, Nigel Farage isn't, and yet people relate to Farage far more.
Benjamin, he cannot define working class to save his life.
I think you hinted at something potentially very dangerous here. Were you implying that the pathetic Ed Davey would jump into bed with Starmer and create a coalition if it was to keep Reform out of power?
Yeah, and I think that's very likely. I mean, to not mention the Prime Minister once in your conference speech is extraordinary.
Well, he did mention the Prime Minister, but he mentioned him in a positive. Well, no, he didn't say so, but he mentioned it in a positive way. I brought up something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Things to do with maybe child taxation and benefits, stuff like that. And that was it. It was in passing. It was in positive. And he did attack Labour, but not the PM. Interestingly, Peter.
Well, just on that very note, because it's important. OK, all those people that voted Clegg back in 2010 and got Cameron and were really not happy with it, how did that last? How did it start? How did it begin? Where did it go? It led to 14 years of catastrophic Tory rule.
Yeah, it did. And look, we saw those MRP polls. 2 of them have come out now. We've had a YouGov poll, which puts Reform at 311 MPs. We've had a Times UK one done by More in Common, which puts them at 370 or something odd. Nicholas, it doesn't matter if Labour and the Liberal Democrats gone into bed with each other, politically speaking. They need the Tories, the Greens, the SNP, all of them combined, even then, couldn't beat, and they're Tories, excluding the Tories from that, all of the left-wing parties combined couldn't beat Reform UK.
And even if they could, that's what we in Italy call the coalition of the devil and the holy water. It's been tried in Italy, it's been tried in France. The French government recently fell over because they couldn't agree on anything. It's just a mathematical operation, not a political operation.
Absolutely right. I cannot see a world, Peter, or Benjamin perhaps even, where Keir Starmer clings on to power. If this story, this tax story, drops tomorrow at some point in the week, I might have it first here on GB News, the Late Show Live with Ben Lear. He might be getting it first, exclusive, show first aired. But if that happens, he's finished. He hasn't got any more political capital.
Well, I don't know about what the story will turn out. We'll look at that once it comes in, hopefully a little bit later. But what I do know is that I've been talking to Labour MPs in the last couple of weeks.
Or you.
And someone has to. And I was shocked about how angry they are and about how much they are moving to try and destabilise Keir Starmer. One of them said to me there's blood in the water and they are organising to try and remove Keir Starmer. Another of them...
And replace him with who?
Well...
Andy Burnham.
Andy Burnham... Well, let me tell you, I'll give you another bit of information. So one MP who was taken into Downing Street by Morgan McSweeney, who is the guy in charge of Keir Starmer, effectively, in charge of the operation.
Scandal-ridden Chief of Staff, yes.
And he was sat down to try and ease this Labour MP. And the thing that they're saying to MPs is, if you don't back Keir Starmer, you'll get Andy Burnham, and what a disaster that will be. So Downing Street is using the threat of Andy Burnham to try and keep people in line. But that particular politician left Downing Street after the meeting to try and be convinced of Starmer's vision, and he started crying in his office because it was the first time, he said, where he thought, actually, this isn't going to work. And so that tells you a lot about the mood among newly elected... And this guy is...
He started crying.
Yeah,
well, he is a Labour Party politician, Peter, you know.
Because he felt like it wasn't going to be turned around. And actually, I mean, you could trivialise that, but actually there's someone...
I'm not trivialising it. These people run the country.
Yeah, but there's this person is extremely capable.
The country's crying too.
He wasn't just out of it.
Well, I'm not telling you. Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
I have to try.
But it tells you something about the level of stress and the level of dissatisfaction in parliamentary Labour.
Well, they also know they're all going to lose their seats if it carries on like this. That's the reality, isn't it? They all know they're going to be out of office. They just had this landslide when they thought, wow, we're going to change the country. And actually what they've had is more of the same scandal-ridden Boris Johnson Tory party that people wanted out. And now they're sitting at 16% in the polls. We've had, with the Times MRP poll, Labour on 90 seats. 90 seats. That will be the biggest wipeout ever, I believe.
Since the last election.
Well, yeah, well, even Jeremy Corbyn managed to cling on to 100 or so. So it would be even worse than Jeremy Corbyn. Anyway, coming up.
Not going to increase the taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT.
Oh, we've heard it all before, haven't we? Oh, we're not going to put up your taxes. Oh, there's always a way, isn't there? The Chancellor's facing a revolt from Labour MPs, more who are urging her to unleash spending. What money? There isn't any money left. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. We'll bring you that story next.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. Has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the... First of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, you know, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you know, you're working with your hands. It's definitely rewarding. experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, well, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The farm tax, family farm tax, has been in the news lately. But the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs, and often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it. But as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Late Edition with me, Alex Armstrong, everybody. I just want to read out a comment from a viewer here. Jay McMaster said, please could you read out a message? My partner's a little unwell. He's stuck in hospital and having a message would brighten up his day. Lee McMaster, I hope you get better soon and thank you for watching. As always, get better soon. Shall we go on to The Independent here quickly? Because it's a blow for Rachel Reeves as the UK's economic forecast slashed estimates for productivity. Not good for this so-called financial prudence that the Prime Minister was talking about the other day in sort of shooting down Andy Burnham's crazy socialist ideas. It says here the Office for Budget Responsibility is set to downgrade a key economic performance indicator in a move that could drive taxes higher. That's as the Chancellor tries to shift the blame to the Tories at the start of Labour conference. How long can they keep blaming the Tories for, Peter?
Yeah, but this is such an important story, and it cuts to so much of how our society is at the moment. It underperforms largely, in some way, because people work from home.
Yeah.
OK? Now, I know people will say there's arguments to say people are more productive when they work from home. Yeah, but if they're working from home, they're not spending money on a train ticket, they're not buying a coffee, they're not helping out that cafe by buying a sandwich at lunch, and so on and so forth. So the economy does naturally slow because of that. Get on a train on a Monday or a Friday, then you can take your pick of whatever seat you want.
Nicholas, what makes you get out of bed in the morning to spend money?
Not having the privilege of working from home. So yeah, I have to spend on the trains, and they're not that good either. So but yeah, she's between. I don't know if I can cross over to the story on Telegraph, because she's also under pressure from the backbenchers, from the ministers, to unleash the spending.
Yes,
so
that's right.
The old recipe of the socialist recipe of spending the money you haven't got, which inevitably will means raising taxes, putting your hands in people's pockets, and then you will have the inflation problem, because just now Bank of England has gradually and very shyly reduced the interest rate, and if the interest rate goes up again, mortgage holders will be in trouble. So
it'll be a Liz Truss moment, won't it? It will be a Liz Truss moment for the government. Benjamin, £40 billion pound black hole. It's gone up by 10 billion since the last time I checked my watch.
Can I just come back to Peter? I can't believe I've lived long enough to go from being blamed for having too many Pret lunches and posh coffees to not afford a house to being blamed for not having enough posh coffees and Pret lunches. Right? Make your mind up of which one is ruining the economy.
Well, first of all, you're conflating two statements which I didn't say. I was just talking about the economy, and working from home, I think, has had an element in the sluggish economy, because people are not getting on trains, buying sarnies, buying coffees and the such like.
I mean, I think people probably don't want to spend the money they could put on a flat on trains. So, but do you know what? I think we are quite an unproductive economy. We're quite an inefficient economy compared to countries like Germany. And I wonder whether that's because people aren't properly remunerated. I also think the housing market is a big part of it. So people spend so much money on rent, frankly, not even mortgages if they're my kind of age or your age, Alex. And so, actually, they want to take a risk. If they want to come up with a business idea, if they want to grow something, well, they don't have the capital, they don't have the flexibility to do it. And I think that's one of the reasons we're in this scenario. And if I may also reference another newspaper that ties into this, Keir Starmer's going to talk about building 300,000 new homes. That actually is quite a good answer to try and, get more money in people's pockets so the economy isn't sluggish.
We've heard it so many times, Benjamin. We've heard, I'm going to build homes. The Tories said they'd do it. Angela Rayner said she didn't get any off the ground from what I can see.
Well,
There's
she
probably a
got some for
handful.
herself. But...
Well, the only person who gained more hopes was Angela Rayner, frankly. And this is the problem, isn't it? We hear about it, but then we talk about the red tape involved, the lack of builders. All these things means that that's highly unlikely, and I think they're going to eat their words on that one.
There's something that's really distasteful about a Labour Prime Minister, and before that Angela Rayner talking about the 1.5 million or the 300,000. Let's just rewind history a little while. Blair letting thousands of Eastern Europeans to come in to work in the construction industry. They drove down the wages of working class people, chippies, sparks, plumbers, the such like. Drove it down. People had to leave that industry. Some went abroad because they were just priced out of it by lots of Eastern Europeans who would sleep 6 to a room, work for half the money that people had previously been paid. We're reaping what Blair sowed, and it's blooming ironic that Starmer pipes up and says, yeah, we're going to build 300,000 houses. Well, you know, if the working class, which that party claims to be of, if they'd really been looked after, we wouldn't have let all these people in. We wouldn't have suppressed the wages that you talk about. And I agree. I think people's wages, generally speaking, are not livable, reflective, can't achieve ambitions. Labour governments repeatedly, and the Tories, have let loads of people in, suppressed wages. The working class, none of them have any time for the working class. They've done so much damage to them, and now, of course, white working class boys are all, so many of them are underperforming.
Absolutely.
The Polish ones they predicted the Polish immigrants to be in tens of thousands. Instead, they were quite a few million. And to be fair, with the benefit of hindsight, those Polish immigrants were the best by comparison that we got. But if you invite me more often, I promise to spend more on ties and suits at least.
Well, this is it, right? Because look, people want less immigration, they want growth. And unfortunately, what happens is that we've blown our population up. At the same time, we've blown taxes up to pay for everything else because we're spending left, right and centre. And there's nothing for the people at the bottom. And, of course, the people at the bottom are, well, they still are, white, working class people, particularly young men, who really are struggling now more than ever. And then they're surprised when there's a backlash to millions of people coming here who are taking the low-end jobs. Then they're surprised that there's low productivity because people are going, well, what's the point? I'll go on to benefits because I can't get a job. My little brother, young lad, can't get a job at Tesco's. That was unheard of back in the day. Anyone could get... I used to work at Tesco's. I used to have 2 jobs. You can't do that anymore. You can barely get 1 for these young lads. And it's even... Just briefly, because we'll talk about this after the break as well, the Sunday Express here, talking sabre-rattling, NATO must be solid or war is inevitable. Shock warning as Russia launches spate of hybrid attacks across Europe. Well, we'll be asking these young lads to go and fight for a country that's done nothing for them. That's what we'll be asking them to do. That is that headline there. I think that's on its way. We seem to have this sabre-rattling more and more. Peter. I want us to get to defence spending of 5%, but it seems highly unlikely with the state of our country.
Absolutely. But on this note, and going back just a little bit, if I may, I hope that I'm granted enough years on this planet, because I believe if we get a proper government in, an effective government who understands the trials and tribulations and ambitions of the white working class, OK, any working class come to that, OK, there will be a rise, because AI is going to strip out so many of the professional jobs. And that will leave the jobs that will be safe and secure and will need to be rewarded will be those that involve using your hands. So the chippies, the sparks, the plumbers, and so on and so forth. So, kids, don't fall for the Blair nonsense about uni, and all that kind of game. Don't get yourself 40, 50 grand's worth of debt. Get yourself a trade. That's going to guarantee you.
But, I mean, AI is an opportunity, right? So the fact that we're so inefficient, well, AI, artificial intelligence, could fix a lot of that. But it's also we're really vulnerable as the British economy because we are a services economy. I think 80% tertiary is our economy, and we are the second biggest economy in the world for music, for example, the second biggest economy in the world for consultancy. We are really good at this stuff, and a lot of fantastically well-paid quality jobs are in London in particular. particular. And so I don't think we should wish away that, because, you know, that is actually, in the modern British economy, that is where we get all the money in taxes.
Peter's not wishing away, he's giving a reality check. It's a reality check, and he is right. Having worked in this sector myself, it's going to destroy the office job as it stands today. And yes, whilst I'd like more AI entrepreneurs to come and work here and to build businesses here, what's the point? What is the point for them? They get slapped a massive tax, and national insurance is another thing killing people.
The point you were raising was that the office job is already beyond the reach of the working class white people. And speaking of reality check, we don't allow these white working class men to raise the English flag or the Union Jack on lampposts, and we go and pull them down. At the same time, we expect them to go and die for Ukraine or die for the country that we have been brainwashing them year after year at school, telling them this country was evil, that Britain did slavery, that we owe the world reparation, that colonialism was terrible, that patriotism is obsolete, and now we just call them to reach for the arms and go and die for this country.
That's exactly right. We'll get more into this story after the break, but coming up, the Prime Minister's digital ID push is already causing protests at a Labour Party conference in Liverpool as projections pop up around the city. Take that, led by donkeys. Plus,
I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff.
Well, are the grey suits of Buckingham Palace preventing a royal reconciliation between Harry and the King? This is Alex Armstrong, tonight, late edition.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Gabrielle could bring some unsettled weather across parts of Spain and Portugal, turning wet and windy here. We could see some blustery showers move through across Madeira, eventually pushing south into parts of Tenerife. But where we see the storm, it's likely we'll see some wet weather, possibly even some strong winds, particularly around exposed coasts. Across much of northern Europe, mostly settled, but it's likely we'll see continuous showers across the Adriatic coastlines and at times across parts of Greece. A mix of showers and sunshine into next week, and temperatures around about average for the time of year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good evening, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a quite damp Saturday for many of us, and that rain that we've seen will gradually clear its way eastwards as we go throughout Sunday, where it will turn a little bit drier. But the weather front giving us that rain still situated out to the west of the UK through Saturday evening, slowly transitioning its way eastwards as we go through the rest of this evening. It will continue to bring some quite heavy rainfall across parts of Scotland, that pushing its way northwards into the early hours of Sunday morning. And that weather front across the southeast as well could be quite slow to clear, but it'll be across parts of Wales and southwest England that we're likely to see the chilliest temperatures, perhaps the odd touch of frost in places. And under those clear skies, we could see some mist and fog too. However, a bit of a milder start, particularly if you're stuck underneath that cloud and rain. Quite a damp start too across much of northern Scotland. Some outbreaks of heavy blustery rain, some showery rain as well. A little drier further south and further east, but there will still be a few showers around, and a similar picture too across parts of Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, with a few showers to start the day. Once any mist and fog has cleared, it will be parts of Wales and southwest England that see the brightest start on Sunday morning. But across the southeast, that weather front does continue to linger for a time, bringing some cloudier skies, some outbreaks of patchy rain as we go towards Sunday afternoon. The weather front in the north clears its way northwards, perhaps still affecting parts of Shetland and Orkney through Sunday afternoon, but for many it'll be a day of sunny spells and one or two isolated showers in the north, and pleasantly warm in that prolonged sunshine across the south with highs of 19 or 20 degrees. That weather front eventually clears its way across the southeast into the start of Monday, and it'll be a dry, bright, but perhaps rather chilly start on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we see could be a little slow to clear. Further north, that sunshine quickly turning hazy as we see a weather front arriving across the northwest, and that sets us up through much of next week with a northwest-southeast split developing, staying dry in the southeast. But temperatures are a little on the rise by the time we get to Wednesday.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, the late edition. Let's continue the sabre rattling, shall we? The front page of The Express. Well, apparently, NATO needs to be solid or war is inevitable. So what's happening here is there's a shock warning. Russia's launching a spate of hybrid attacks across Europe. Conflict with Russia is inevitable unless NATO demonstrates strength and unity in the face of Moscow's escalating provocations, defence experts warning. Now, this comes, if you don't remember recently, Trump was interviewed by the press, and they asked him whether or not that NATO should shoot down Russian jets invading NATO airspace. Benjamin, do you think war with Russia is getting inevitable at this point?
Well, I mean, these warnings we should heed them, right? Because we're not spending... For years, we've cut the amount of money we're putting into our defence budgets, and now Russia saw that and we're ruining the day in the last 2 or 3 years. I think that what Russia's been doing in the last couple of weeks, so they sent, I think, 20 drones into Polish airspace. They've gone into Lithuanian and Estonian airspace. Funnily enough, I've been in all of those countries each time they've done it, so, you know, maybe they're just trying to get me. It seems pretty unlucky. But I think they're trying to taunt us, right? I don't think Russia wants war with a NATO country. Bearing in mind, they said they'd take Kiev in 1 week, and we're 3.5 years on. Yeah. So, and Russia is not a rich country. It's just willing to put a lot of money into its attack rather than defence. But I think we should be very aware of it, because if we look weak, if we look like we're not taking it seriously, like if we look like we would lose, then I think Russia is going to keep pushing things, and we are in danger as the West, as NATO countries, of looking pretty pathetic.
Yeah, Peter, British-built wall of drones. This is the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, just moving on slightly. British-built wall of drones will protect NATO nations from Putin. And the reason why I want to talk about drones, because you were just bringing them up there as well.
I droned on.
Yeah, well, yes, you do indeed. Well, this is a good news story for Britain, that we'll be building some of these drones, but also it's the changing nature of our warfare, isn't it? And we talk about, when we think of war, we still think of World War II, boots on the ground, but the ever-changing nature of it is looking more like drone warfare.
Yes, and our youngest son is joining the army next year.
Is he really?
Yeah, so these subjects are very close to our hearts. I want a suitably equipped and properly trained armed services, of course. I think I echo, bizarrely, a lot of what Benjamin says. We've got to be strong in the face of Putin's aggression. I wish we'd been stronger the day he marched into Ukraine. I wish we'd put a piece of paper under Volodymyr Zelensky's nose and said, sign here, you're in NATO, and we could have blasted his troops back to Moscow within a matter of weeks. That would have shown strength. But we didn't. We got weak politicians at the time. We have weak politicians now, so that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I take what you're saying. I'm always cautious when you've got a massive nuclear power with an unstable man like Vladimir Putin, that it just takes one wrong thing and he goes, I'm firing a nuke. And then, of course, that's it.
We would have wiped him out, and he's such a narcissist. It would have been voting for suicide.
Power, I think a lot of Brits don't know this, but NATO's power, Benjamin, you can attest to this, but NATO's power is so vast, we could still win a world war just... but obviously backed by America, that's the key thing.
Yes.
Well, look, Putin isn't going to hit a nuke, OK? Because he might look unstable, but he's not. He's a megalomaniac. He wants power. He wants omnipotence. He wants more land to be Mother Russia. He's not going to nuke us because we would nuke him and he would be over, right? There's a rationale to it.
It's the one country... It's mutually assured destruction. That's the whole reason why we haven't gone straight to that.
And this will lead nicely on to Nicholas. But the one country where that doesn't work is Iran, because they are jihadi fundamentalists who believe in the afterlife, not in the rationale. So it's not Putin I'm afraid of, it's the Ayatollah.
Well, we showed weakness towards Putin in Syria, Barack Obama famously had red line after red line violated after Syria, after Assad gassed his own people. The whole disgraceful withdrawal of America under Biden from Afghanistan. We've shown weakness, but I think we have also provoked him because time after time, NATO has expanded eastwards after famously or arguably was promised it would not do that. So the US famously didn't accept Russian missiles in Cuba in its own backyard. Maybe we should have afforded the same guarantees or security to the Russians, or not basically provoke someone who would have then ultimately go and invade Ukraine.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? I don't want a war. I don't want young men to die. I don't want more British young men to die. We've suffered enough, I think, actually, in this country. I think I would love to avoid a war, but I do believe we also need a strong deterrence from Putin to make him realise that actually this has gone on for too long. He needs to stop. Let's hope Trump and some others can get their heads together and fix it, shall we? Anyway, Labour Party conference gets underway tomorrow, doesn't it? And the Camilla Tominey show will be live from Liverpool. Joining Camilla is Housing Secretary Steve Reed, Shadow Housing Secretary Sir James Cleverly, plus former Tory chairman and Reform defector Sir Jake Berry, plus the pollster behind that mega poll, which shows Nigel Farage is on course to be the next Prime Minister at a general election. And the associate editor at the Daily Mirror, Kelvin McKenzie, will join Camilla to review the papers. You will not want to miss it. Tune in from 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Anyway, coming up, the PM's digital ID push is already causing protests at Labour Party conference in Liverpool. Look at that, projections of no to digital ID. Tell Keir Starmer that's what they're saying. Oh, and on the front page of The Telegraph, the next Archbishop of Canterbury must stay silent on migration. We'll go back live to Ben Leo to get his thoughts on this. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. Peter's been giving me a debrief of what might happen this evening. It's been very interesting. It's time to bring you tomorrow's Inside Story. Well, projections against the Prime Minister's digital ID push have appeared all around Liverpool on the eve of Labour Party conference. Look at that. The sort of stuff you'd expect led by donkeys to do, wouldn't you? But they seem to be missing in action since the Prime Minister Keir Starmer took off. It's interesting, that, isn't it? Anyway, and on the front page of the Telegraph, the next Archbishop of Canterbury must stay silent on migration. Lord Carney has launched a suspected attack on suspected attack, it sounds like he's literally attacked him, but it's a suspected attack on former Archbishop Justin Welby and said the church risked losing its authority by commenting on divisive issues such as migration. I also want to bring this story to you because we're about to go live to Ben Leo in Washington, D.C. Read, ready to block Islamophobia definition. Labour will overrule its independent advisers on the definition of Islamophobia if they suggest blasphemy laws by the back door, Steve Reed has said. OK, well, let's go to superstar Ben Leo in Washington, D.C. Ben. Thank you for joining me on these inside stories, mate. Some corkers here. I really want to start. On this Islamophobia definition, but I guess we've got to talk about the Archbishop warning as well. Where would you like to start, mate? What takes your fancy?
I've not read the Islamophobia definition, so for everyone's benefit, including the viewers, let's talk about the next Archbishop of Canterbury. So, as you said, Alex, Lord Carey, who was a former Archbishop, has criticised Justin Welby. Remember him for being an absolutely useless Archbishop, spending millions on reparations from the church. Yes, he did that, slavery, reparations and so on, instead of on parishes during his tenure. Lord Carey is basically saying that whoever fills his spot next time round, and a replacement should be imminent, he needs to basically shut his gob on political matters, anything from migration, as Justin Welby used to love getting involved into, also the green scam as well, climate change and things like that. Just focus on trying to revive Christianity, trying to spread the word of God and the word of Jesus Christ and the Bible, instead of getting involved in migration. Of course, Justin Welby, Alex, do you remember when he, what did he do last time? He got involved in the Rwanda scheme, criticising the government on the Rwanda scheme. And yeah, it just brings a sense of that you're losing the authority of the church and also indeed the word of God, because there are, here's a little secret, I've been going to some Bible classes here in Washington DC during my spare time, just to kind of try and understand the Bible a bit more and see if I can get myself closer to Christianity. There are verses in there which talk about the need to protect your homeland and to protect your nation and fight for your nation. So it kind of, that goes against the kind of rhetoric that Justin Welby was banging on about when he was the Archbishop, talking about the need to open our borders and let every man and his dog in.
Talking about religious people getting involved in politics, because if we talk about America for a second, because the Pope is American right now, isn't he? Pope Leo, he's American. He's taking shots, a namesake after you, mate, so I'm blaming you for this one, but he's been taking shots at Donald Trump. Obviously, this is the sort of stuff you don't expect religious communities, particularly people like the Pope, to be getting involved in. But of course, time and time again, they do shove their nose into politics. Is there a risk here that they could, I think Charlie Kirk's probably done more for the church in America than the Pope has, frankly, and he's American.
Well, yeah, great point. I was thinking of Charlie Kirk. Of course, it was his memorial last weekend. The energy in that room was more than just, I'll say it again, I've said it before, it was more than just going to a Arsenal game. I'm an Arsenal fan, obviously. It's more than just the atmosphere in a football stadium. There was something holy in that stadium that night, because they were playing worship music, there was Bible verses being read out, Charlie's team and indeed the Trump administration kept referring to the need for Jesus Christ and salvation and Christianity. There was a holy atmosphere in that stadium that night. Some people might understand what I'm saying, other people won't. But yeah, Charlie Kirk has done much more than anybody in recent decades to try and revive Christianity. And that's why they were calling him a martyr last weekend at his memorial. And Pope Leo, of course, my namesake, his brother is a massive MAGA fan. I think he's been pictured, correct me if I'm wrong, wearing a MAGA hat. He also posts Trump memes all the time on social media. So while his brother, who I think Pope Leo is from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, whilst he's a bit of a lib, a big-time liberal, his brother is a big MAGA fan, so he's not afraid to wear his MAGA hat. So that's an interesting contrast.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've got to let you go so you can get your move on for your show, actually, which is starting imminently. Ben Leo, stay tuned, everybody, because he's got a bombshell show lined up. You might even have that breaking news about the Prime Minister, so you're not going to want to miss it tonight, trust me. Quick comment from you guys on the panel. Obviously, we're talking about the Archbishop of Canterbury here, Benjamin. What do you make of it all?
I mean, is this the longest job application process in history? Why don't we have an Archbishop of Canterbury? It took like 36 hours to anoint a pope, and yet we still don't have one. So, you know, I do think, though, that they are meant to preach. So, you know, the clue is in the nature of the job. So it shouldn't be a surprise that they make moral judgments on political issues. But it would just be nice to have an archbishop.
Briefly, what do you think, Peter?
Well, of course, so many of them end up in the Lords, so they're used to getting involved in political things. It's almost an ambition that follows on when they've served their term.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
still going to do it.
Nicholas?
The Pope or the Archbishop, they have free speech, they can talk about issues, but it's a bit like stand-up comedy. You do it at your own peril. If you go after easy targets, you risk alienating people.
Exactly. And what's the teddy bear, by the way?
This is Lord Pippo of Barnet, North London, my daughter's favourite and first teddy bear.
There we go. That's a lovely little touch there. Well, look, that's all we have time for on The Late Show, or The Late Edition here, because up next is The Late Show Live, hosted by Ben Leo. And look, I think he's going to have a bombshell show tonight. I really do. I think this show is going to be like no other, because if that Times story about our beleaguered Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, does drop in the early hours, which the Times are saying it is going to come out tomorrow, and that could be in the press tomorrow, that means it will break on Ben Leo's show. I'm just going to quickly get some more thoughts on the panel about this, because Benjamin, what happens if it... Oh, sorry, actually, no, I'm being told we haven't got enough time for you.
Well, I'm on the next show, so
you're on the
luck.
next show anyway, so we'll get more of your thoughts. Ben Leo, what have you got for us, mate?
Yes, Alex, as you've been saying, it could be tonight during my show on The Late Show Live on GB News. I think at around 1 a.m. we may get the detail which finally brings Keir Starmer to his downfall. Did he dodge inheritance tax to do with his land and his family? More details on The Late Show Live after your weather.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.